The 585th edition of the Four Corners podcast starts right now.
This is the Four Corners podcast.
And that could make a difference. Lawson at the buzzer. Got it! Maybe not. Ty Lawson wins it at the buzzer.
Deep three. And Green rips down the rebound in traffic. 4-on-1.
What a great job. What a terrific job in transition. I mean, you couldn't plan that any better as a coach.
Gets the roll. Here we go. Page has it. Carolina down one. 84-83. Page into the front court with 4 seconds. Page to the rim. Got it! He got it! 9/10 of a second to go. Inbounds. Washington gets it to Warren. His full court shot. No good. Marcus Page baby. Does it for the Tar Heels. Carolina wins it.
Don't force it if you're Goss.
Comes in. Blocked by Meeks. Buried up ahead to Jackson. And he tucks it down for the 5-point lead. Matthews off the mark. And this year, the confetti is going to fall for North Carolina. They're not going to be denied this time. Inside 30 overall. Love, top of the key. Oh! Big time delivery.
Here are your hosts, Josh Marlowe and Anthony Pagnotta.
Hello and welcome into another edition of the Four Corners podcast. We are powered by Carolina Electrical Services. Josh here with you guys on a Friday night, riding solo because another member of the Carolina basketball team met with the media earlier this week, and I figured might as well hop on here and recap that press conference. That, of course, was senior guard Seth Trimble. He spoke for about 24 minutes, a lot of great stuff that I wanted to comb through and bring that audio to you guys and then give my thoughts and opinions on what he had to say. So that's what we're doing here on a Friday night, just a little under 2 weeks away from the start of fall practice and media day for Carolina basketball as the preseason is right around the corner. Before we get to that press conference recap, though, we start every edition of the pod, as we always do, with the pod thought of the day. We go to Mary Ann Rodmacher for that pod thought, and that thought is, quote, "Courage does not always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again," end quote. I think a lot of what Seth Trimble's done during his time at Carolina has been courageous. He entered the transfer portal. He withdrew, came back to Carolina and said, my heart and soul, they belong in Chapel Hill. He's a new business owner, something we'll talk about here in tonight's edition of the show. That took courage while being a basketball player at a high-profile university to take on that venture took courage as well. And there's been many times that he has succeeded. There's been many times where Seth Trimble has failed, but he's gotten back up. And like that quote says, he has tried again, once again tomorrow. And, it's why I've kind of said really all offseason long that I think he's ready to be the next player that Carolina fans just fall in love with and really get to love and adore, because he's said it publicly, and you'll hear some of that here in just a minute about how much this place means to him and the impact it's had on his life. But I also think you're going to see a guy that's driven to win and is driven to be a part of, getting this program back where it needs to be after just a roller coaster first 3 years, for him as a player. So I think he's, is it going to be RJ Davis like Armando Bacot like? No, but I do think it might be kind of the way you felt about a Cam Johnson or a Luke May or one of those guys where maybe you fell in love with him more as a player than maybe you thought about originally when you first saw him wear the Carolina blue. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get to let's get to tonight's order of business, which is combing through this press conference that he held on Wednesday at the Dean Dome. I've got 11 audio cuts to bring you guys, so buckle up. We got a lot of audio coming your way, and the first piece of sound we'll play is Seth Trimble talking about just how much Carolina does in fact mean to him.
I mean, this university means everything to me. I'm growing up a Carolina fan. My family's growing up a Carolina fan. I've had support for all these years, and I've just been able to grow as a man. I mean, forget basketball. The young man I became here, the lessons I've learned, like all the experience I've been able to have, the connections I've built. You can't get all these things anywhere else, and it really just means a lot to me. I'm super thankful for it. I mean, when I'm praying at night, I speak about how thankful I am for this university. I mean, it's a blessing. It's a blessing, just to put it in a few words.
He talks about the impact it's had on him off the basketball court just as much as what it's made him on the court. Very similar to what Marcus Page echoed when he delivered maybe the emotional senior night speech we've ever seen, when he, really just told Roy Williams, thank you for taking a chance on him and molding him into, yes, the player that he became, but the man that he had become. And now he's on the sidelines as an assistant for Carolina. His life has come full circle. Seth Trimble is just the latest example of when you come to UNC, when you go to Carolina, it's not a 4-year decision. It's a 40-year decision that will change your life for the better in more ways than one. And I think, he's a guy that has already noticed that while he's still in college. He hasn't had to, go to the NBA or go play basketball overseas and see what Carolina has done for him when he's done at Carolina. He's acknowledged while being at Carolina what Carolina has done for him already, what it will continue to do for him now into the future. And that's why he's so thankful for the opportunity to play college basketball at such a prestige university. A lot of talk about this offseason about what's his role going to be. Carolina brings in Kyan Evans, 2 more guards in the transfer portal or in the recruiting class. You add Jaden Young, a veteran backup point guard in the portal as well. So is this going to be someone that plays on ball, off ball? What does Seth Trimble's role look like in Chapel Hill? And the rising senior guard spoke about that on Wednesday.
I mean, just being that guy in hindsight, being the guy that the teammates can rely on, being the guy when Coach Davis needs something, I can go get it, whether it's a defensive stop, it's a rebound, it's a game time bucket, whatever it is, just being that guy that Coach Davis can rely on. We built such a good relationship over the last 4 years, and I feel like I've continued to grow and grow as a player, that he can rely on me and I can rely on him knowing that he relies on me, So just being that guy.
There are going to be nights where he has to score the ball, where he's got to score 12, 15, 18 points. And I think he can and will do that. There will be nights where he needs to be the best defensive player maybe in the country. And I think he can do that. The most important role for him, I think he has to be, is what Carolina lacked a year ago, which is an extension of Hubert Davis on the court. And I do think he's ready to become that. I think he's ready to be more vocal. You'll hear that. You'll hear him talk about that here in just a second. But I do think he's really ready to look at the locker room and make it known, this is my team. He couldn't do that with Armando Bacot on the roster, Cormac Ryan, Harrison Ingram, R.J. Davis. He couldn't do that. Those guys are no longer here. He is going to be, with R.J. gone, the first, fully tenured recruit that was recruited by Hubert Davis, that played for Hubert Davis, and he needs to be a reflection of Hubert Davis on the court. If he can be that every night every night, that'll go, I think, a long way for him individually and this team here collectively. He also talked about his game and what he spent the most time this summer working on ahead of his senior season.
This summer, we've been working on playing on the ball more. Last year, which is how many guards we had, it was limited for everybody. So this summer, been on the ball a lot more, decision-making, reading the pocket pass, coming off screens, ready to shoot. Off the dribble shooting has been huge. Movement shooting has been huge. But just continuing just to expand my game as a lead guard. Has been the biggest push.
I'll tell you honestly, I think he fits better off the ball. I don't think he is a lead point guard. And I hope that that's not something that Hubert Davis is going to ask him to be. That's why you went and got Kyan Evans. Is he going to have the ball in his hands? Absolutely. And he's got to be someone that can create for himself and create for others. But I do think if this roster comes together and it gels, it's with him at that 2 guard, being a guy that's, cutting to the basket, working his way around screens, a secondary ball handler in the pick and roll, that kind of stuff on the offensive end. I think defensively, he's going to be the best perimeter defender on the roster, and hopefully that leads to a couple of easy steals that get him layups and dunks going the other way. He's got to shoot the ball better. He's got to shoot the ball more efficiently. He's got to do what he did 2 years ago, but just at a higher volume, and not be a guy that shot the ball as poorly as he did last year, shooting under 30% from behind the 3-point line. Let's go ahead and get to the next piece of audio. This is maybe one of the more important pieces of sound that we'll play here today, and it's him talking about his leadership and how he has always envisioned himself as a leader dating back to his high school days.
I've always seen myself as a leader. I've always. I know my freshman and sophomore year, I had amazing leaders here. So, in a way, I'll say I took a back seat in a way. But I've always seen myself as a leader in high school. I was always the guy who pushed my teammates. I was always the guy who got on my teammates when needed to be, who carried my teammates when needed to be, who held them up. And that's just who I want to continue to be. It helps people. It allows people to grow when there's that leadership, and I think I'm capable of doing it. So, it's nothing new, no new surprises or anything for me, so I'm just continuing just to embrace it, like I said.
He admitted right there that he did take a back seat, but that's what happens when you're a young guy with so many, first off, veterans, but accomplished veterans, program legends like, RJ, like Armando, and then you brought in 2 great leaders like Cormac and Harrison Ingram. Carolina didn't need his leadership then. It needs it now. And it's a good sign that he's already comfortable being that vocal leader on the court. You saw it at times a year ago. I mentioned after the Clemson loss, he had a pretty forward quote, very expressing his disappointment with his teammates. You go back to when the season ended and they lost to Ole Miss, RJ Davis's career literally came to an end, but Seth Trimble was the guy that was more visibly emotional and frustrated with what had happened and what had transpired. Well, now with those guys no longer here, I do think, when and not that he had to decide to come back, I think he was always coming back, but I bet that end of season meeting with Hubert Davis was a communication of, this is your team. I need you to lead it. And I think he has taken that with the right approach. And I love the confidence that he's already, voicing and what he'll do as a leader for the upcoming season. And so with that, it's not a secret now that Carolina's roster has been turned over. It's completely upside down. You've got, 6 transfers, a handful of freshmen, and an incoming pro on the roster. And so, he was asked about what this new leadership role, how he's gone about communicating the standard and the expectation of the Carolina program to all the new guys on the roster.
It's been a huge part of my job. I've really taken ownership into that part. I feel like I kind of started taking ownership in that, halfway through the season last year, and I've kind of just embraced it since. But Coach Hubert does an amazing job of continuing to remind us, and I just continue just to try and be an extension of him, of just how important it is, to wear this jersey with pride when you're wearing it, to represent this jersey when you're out on Franklin Street or when you're back home, you're in Raleigh, wherever you are, just to have pride in who it is you're playing for, like what it is you're playing for, the team, the community, the fans around you. I try and hone in on it as much as I can, and just speak that to my teammates as much as I can. And I feel like I've done a good job. Guys definitely understand what it means to play here. If you ask them, they can all give you their own examples on what it means to them. But it all kind of comes back and it all correlates to what Coach Davis tells us at the end of the day. So
the best way for this season to be a success is for all of these new players to buy into the Carolina way and understand what is wanted, what is expected, and what is demanded of them as Carolina basketball players. That's probably been the biggest frustration for Hubert Davis when it hasn't gone good for Carolina, is he hasn't been able to get that through to his team. When he has gotten it through to his team, they were an offensive rebound away from a national championship. And the other year, they won 29 games, an ACC regular season title, was a 1 seed in the tournament, and made the Sweet 16. And so if this new group can buy into what it means to be a Tar Heel, what's expected of them while being a Tar Heel, I think that really will go a long way to the success they will enjoy while being Tar Heels. And that's something that we won't we won't know until they get on the court if that's something that is going to be in the cards for them. And so it has to be with just so many new faces. Speaking of so many new faces, the biggest talk is chemistry and how quickly can they gel. And according to Seth Trimble, he claims they came together pretty quickly, both on and off the basketball court.
Our team, we came together and gelled super, super quick. I mean, say maybe the first couple of weeks max, things were like, all right, these guys are still strangers, this and that. But I'd say max maybe 14 days, maybe even 10 days. I mean, we came together really, really quickly. We bonded, we gelled quickly, and it carried to on the court too. I mean, we hung out off the court all the time. We still do, and I mean, just the way we came together on the court in such a quick amount of time was super impressive. It was super impressive. So
when Carolina kind of rebuilt itself through the portal 2 years ago, you could tell that there was a love and an admiration for each guy, and everybody played for one another. But that was formulated back in the summertime. And that's why it's so critical now that you have those 6 to 8 practices you have in June and July, that you make the most of them. It's why Carolina goes on the annual beach trip. They are forcing chemistry because of the way that the game is being played right now. And there isn't the continuity that you had before the transfer, like you had pretty much up until the transfer portal era, up until NIL became such a big thing in college athletics. And so, I think it's a good thing that the clear leader of the team is telling you, hey, it didn't take us long. We gelled on the court, but more importantly, we gelled off the court. Because the better you know your teammates, the better that you like and care for your teammates, the easier that you will be willing to sacrifice for said teammates. And, we got to see what it looks like on the court, but it does sound like right now this is a group that likes one another, that's excited to play for one another, and is excited to go on the journey that this 32-plus game season is about to take them on, starting with a couple of exhibitions in October, but a regular season game starting the first week in November. With, the small ball lineup a year ago, there was a lot of times that Seth Trimble found himself as an undersized 4-man having to take on bigger wings and much more bigger big men. And he talked about how he's thankful and the blessing it is having this new revamped front court in Chapel Hill.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing. I still talk about it. I still tell them how thankful I am for them, because now I don't have to guard guys who are 6'10", 240 or something like that. So it's a huge blessing. And then just the thing about them too, they're not just big. They have so many aspects of the game. Like Henry, from what I've seen this summer, he's an incredible shooter. Jaren is a lights-out shooter. Caleb is so dynamic. He can shoot the ball. He can put the ball on the floor. And then he can go and shut down, the opposing team's best player. So all of our bigs are so dynamic. I mean, just as well as the size, plus with everything that they can do, our front court has a chance to do something really special this year. So I'm very thankful for them.
People often want to know, what does leadership look like in a vocal manner? That's vocal leadership for you right there. Him telling you that I express to them my gratitude that they're here, because you've made my job, you've made my responsibilities so much easier. And so I love hearing that he's made it known to Visard, Stevenson, whoever it is, Caleb Wilson, Matt Lakovich, hey, I'm glad you're here, because you make my job easier, but you've got a skill talent and a skill set that we're going to use, and we're going to make sure that other teams are aware of just how good you are, how versatile you are. And it's why it's easy to get excited about the potential of this group. It's going to be a group that's going to get better the longer that they play together as the season does move along. But this is a front court that, quite frankly, Carolina hasn't had in quite some time. You've got guys that can, be stretch 5 men. You've got guys that can beat and bang on the inside. They've got guys that can get to the glass. You got guys that can guard 3 positions on the wing if you have to do it. And it's really cool to hear Seth Trimble, speak about that publicly, because when the leader is talking about his teammates in a way that he's doing it. It makes it easier for these guys to follow his lead. And that's something that I think is going to be a welcomed addition for Hubert Davis, as a head coach. The big talking point, the back half of the portal season, was the arrival of Montenegro pro Luka Bogovac, a guy that's turned down going to the NBA to come play collegiately here in college basketball. Still awaiting official NCAA clearance for the upcoming season. And with that, really just they'll determine how much eligibility he does have to play at the college game. Everyone's been talked about their first impressions, and here's what Seth Trimble had to say about his new teammate.
Well, Luka, as a person, super funny, super personable. He just wants to get to know you. He's just super curious about just American culture, what we do, how we hang out, what we eat, whatever it is. But super funny guy. I think he's really funny unintentionally, just because, he's coming over from Montenegro and he's just so curious about things. But as a player, too, he's just an incredible basketball player. Plays at his own pace. He's looking for a shot. He's ultra aggressive on the offensive end. And it just brings just another huge aspect to our team that that we could really use. So I'm super excited for that.
We've heard multiple people talk about what do you see when you see Luka on the court, and the biggest and the most consistent answer you hear and that we've heard is he doesn't get sped up. He plays at his pace, and I think that's going to be a real big difference for Carolina in the half court. Is you have a guy that just knows himself, knows his game, knows where he wants the ball, wants to know how to operate, how he wants to attack, whether he's looking to score or create for others. And while, he might see more zone defense at the college game than he's seen overseas, or, maybe the way that he gets double teamed if he gets the ball on the post, whatever it is, because he's played at such an advanced level overseas, he's not going to be taken aback by, he's not going to be surprised by it, and he'll be able just to kind of work through the motions and play through it. And I think that's going to be a real big benefit for Carolina, because I think from a talent perspective, he's going to be Carolina's leading scorer, needs to be Carolina's leading scorer. But the fact that he's so comfortable and confident in his game on the court leads me to believe that he'll do so in a real efficient manner, which is the most important thing for any team, but especially a Carolina team that was so inefficient at times last year offensively. Just a few more sound bites for you guys before we do get out of this edition of the podcast. We want to thank you guys that are joining us, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or on Twitter, for being with us on your Friday night. One more basketball-specific cut, and then we'll get to the more fun stuff where he's talking about his new venture as being a business owner in Chapel Hill on Franklin Street. He's going to be teamed up in the backcourt with Kyan Evans, the Colorado State transfer. You all have heard me rave about this kid all offseason long, and I'm really excited to see what he looks like in Carolina blue. And Seth Trimble talked about how Kyan Evans is adjusting to his new role as a Tar Heel.
Kyan's, he's just embracing the role that any point guard should embrace, being a voice of the team, being a leader, being an extension of the coach, and just being confident so everybody else can be confident on the court. He's played amazing this summer. He's getting to his spots. He has a patient game. He's an elite shooter, as y'all know, and a really good passer. He's been able to create opportunities for all of us this summer, and we're just continuing to play off of him. He'll be really good for us.
I'm really excited to see what he looks like as a Tar Heel. One, because I hope he proves me right so I can come on here and brag. But I think this is going to be a fun backcourt to watch play together, because I think they're both aggressive in their own ways. They're both tough in their own ways. And I think they're going to really enhance the backcourt in a way that, Elliot Cadeau and RJ Davis could not do a year ago. And I think it's a good thing that Kyan is settling in. I think he is making that adjustment. When he met with the media last week, he said, I was brought here to play point guard. I'm going to play point guard. That's a good thing for Seth Trimble, because I think he'll be best utilized as an off-ball two guard, as opposed to maybe try and force to be played out of position and be a lead guard for Carolina's offense and the half court. Let's now get to the fun stuff. One of these sound bites you probably have already heard, because it went a little viral over social media back on Wednesday. But if you haven't known, if you don't know by now, Seth Trimble is now a business owner. He is now the owner of the Ben and Jerry's ice cream shop right there in downtown Chapel Hill on Franklin Street. One of the very first few college athletes in this NIL space to become a business owner while he is in college. And he talked about how that all kind of came to be earlier this offseason.
It's super cool. It's more than a blessing to be able to call myself a franchise owner at just especially in the position I am. Just trying my best to set my own path, be my own person, and set an example for athletes to come. As the NIL life just keeps expanding and keeps growing, and more opportunities keeps coming just for players like me. But it's just something I've always thought about. I've always wanted to be more than a basketball player, and the idea of entrepreneurship has always been in my head. My parents have set a great way for me, and they've set a great path for me just to follow. And I had the opportunity just a few months ago. It started, to be in talks with Ben & Jerry's on Franklin Street. So the opportunity came about, sat down with my parents, and, we were all super excited and investing on it. So we jumped on it.
This is the biggest upside of why NIL is a good thing for college athletics. Without NIL, he would not be able to do the investment into the Ben & Jerry's that he was able to make. That'll now, make him money while he's playing basketball, when his playing days are being over. And I don't want to project, and I don't want to speak, I don't want to belittle him. The chances of him playing in the NBA aren't very high. There could be a role for him, but it might be more on a G League or a two-way contract where you're not making the life-changing money that so many guys dream of making when they make the NBA. If I had to bet, he'll probably more than likely go overseas and play in one of those European leagues where you can make a good living for yourself. You've seen many Carolina players do it. Marcus Ginyard, Luke May, Marcus Page, Bryce Johnson, and so many others. But, you also have this to fall back on. It keeps him a part of the community, even when he's done playing at Carolina. That's the coolest part I think about this, is that, even when his playing days are over, when you go get ice cream, you're getting ice cream that's owned by a former Tar Heel that played college basketball at a high level. And I think that's a pretty fun, unique thing to kind of see kind of happen. And again, this does not happen without NIL. So if you're one of these old heads that hate NIL, but you're celebrating what Seth Trimble is doing, well, then you're being a hypocrite and you're contradicting yourself, because the two things are not possible without the other. I'm not saying that there aren't issues with NIL. I'm not saying that there aren't better ways to do what they're doing in terms of how they're paying players, but this is the big bright spot of what NIL does offer these guys, is a way to really expand their financial wealth and growth and learn how to be a part of society in a non-sports manner. And so this has been really cool to see. Now we'll get to the last piece of sound, the fun quote, where he talked about how he's already talking to corporate about trying to find an ice cream flavor for legendary coach Roy Williams.
Trying to get Coach Roy flavor here on Franklin Street. That's one thing I really want to do. I think he's earned it. I think he's done enough to get himself a flavor. He's great to my family. He's great to his university. So I want to try and do that to him. I got to talk to corporate, so we'll see what they say. We'll see what they say. But
I wonder if talking to corporate for Seth Trimble is the same as it was for Michael Scott when he talked to corporate so many times back during The Office, legendary TV show. Two things. One, love this. Absolutely. Give Roy Williams an ice cream flavor. Call it Tough Little Nut. Maybe make it like a Rocky Road edition. We got to wait and see what it looks like. But I think this is great. But if you're going to give Roy Williams an ice cream flavor, you got to do two things. You probably got to give Coach Smith an ice cream flavor as well. And if you want to stay in the good graces of your head coach, you might as well go and give Hubert Davis an ice cream flavor while you're at it. So don't just stop at Roy Williams. Go ahead and give Dean Smith name it the Four Corners ice cream. We can maybe do a little collab as the Four Corners podcast. But, take care of Coach Smith, and then go ahead and take care of your current coach as well, Hubert Davis, just so you don't find yourself in the doghouse. But that was cool. That was a lot of fun just seeing that quote floating around. And it was something that we even talked about it here at the station. What would a Roy Williams flavor ice cream be? What would a Roy Williams flavor ice cream be named? And so I would love to be a fly on the wall for those conversations with Seth Trimble and Ben and Jerry's corporate staff. But With that, folks, it is going to wrap up this edition of the Four Corners podcast. In the meantime, we will direct you guys to the website. That's HeelToughBlog.com, where it's Central Florida week for Carolina football. The game preview is already up on the website. Go and check that out if you already haven't. Anthony does the best job in terms of getting you ready for every game with the best preview that you'll find involving Carolina football. We'll be back probably on Sunday with the recap of the game, so be on the lookout for that article, as well as we're keeping you up to date on all the news with Carolina football. Same thing with Carolina basketball, the preseason content just right around the corner. We'll be writing some of the preseason articles that we do every single year. So make sure you visit the website. That's HeelToughBlog.com every single morning and afternoon for the latest and the best coverage of Carolina basketball and Tar Heel football. As for the podcast, you guys know where to find us. Every major podcasting platform. Simply search the Four Corners podcast will pop up. There, we encourage you guys to rate, review, and subscribe if you're an audio listener. That way you don't miss any editions of the show throughout the remainder of the offseason and on into the preseason. If you are a visual watcher of the podcast and you take us in on YouTube, Facebook, or on Twitter, make sure you like and follow Heel Tough Blog on Facebook or on YouTube, me at Twitter at HTB_Josh. And if you do so, the second that we go live, you will be notified. So you don't have to try to go back and search and find us. If you like and follow those pages, you'll get a notification when we're live, and you can jump right in from the very beginning and not miss any of our Carolina basketball coverage the rest of the way. So with that, that will officially wrap up this edition of the show. I do want to thank you guys for watching and listening. And as always, go Tar Heels.